What do they call you? Wheels?
These are the top 100 X-Men characters with the most appearances. We're kicking off the top 100 this year with a brand new entry, jumping a massive 6 places from her ranking last year. It's the indestructible acolyte turned X-Man turned space diplomat turned government employee, Frenzy, with 166 appearances. In at 99, it's a mega level healer currently stuck in the White Hot Room, Elixir. Next, we have the seemingly eternally young mutant who broke our hearts in X-Men 97, Leech. At 97, it's former sword leader and war criminal Abigail Brand, who is nowhere to be found. Dropping 5 places from last year, it's the X-Men's very own Jesus lookalike, X-Man. At 95, we have another new entry, jumping 7 spaces into the top 100. It is the X-Men's rising star herself, Oya, now going by Temper, but Oya is still the better codename, Sumi. With 179 appearances, Prodigy, the mutant who knows everything you know, makes it in at 94. Krakoa's breakout star, Sync, is staying steady at 93. With 187 appearances, Lightning Generator and Speedster, who just came back from the dead as pure energy, Surge, is at 92. And at 91, she has the best manicure in the entire Marvel Universe. It's Lady Deathstrike. So at 90, with 191 appearances, we have my mortal nemesis, Glob Herman, who is unfortunately employed at the moment as the X-Men's chef. At 89, we have the 80s personified extra-dimensional man, who is his own grandfather, Longshot. Next, we have Nazi hunter scientist who is growing mushrooms out of his head, Dr. Nemesis. Angry telekinetic Hellion, now going by the Krakoan, makes his way to 87. With 204 appearances, Madison Jeffries, who sleeps with machines, is at 86. At 85, he's dead in both the comics and the X-Men 97 universe. It's Henry Peter Gyrick. Next, we have King of Parasocial Relationships with Magneto, Toad. Sunfire, who is way too cool to be quitting all the time, is at 83 with 222 appearances. Next, we have the Old Man Logan, who got stranded in the main universe and then died around 6 years ago, keeping himself safely at 82. And at 81, she often finds herself impersonated by Mystique. It's Dr. Val Cooper with 226 appearances, not including those Mystique ones. So at 80, we have Shaman, a mystic member of the Canadian team Alpha Flight, who is currently in jail because he helped mutants during the fall of X. Free Shaman. Super strong alien with built-in mohawk, Gladiator, is at 79. Apocalypse, who has spent the last 5 years being a good guy, is at 78 with 234 appearances. Jumping up 1 spot from last year, it's Husk, who can exfoliate whenever. MCU Miss Marvel is coming for a gig. It's Armor at 76. Coming in at 75, it's one of the Stepford Cuckoos, Celeste, who has actually dropped 4 spaces from last year. British lad with no mouth, Chamber, makes it to 74 with 243 appearances. Former Green Lagoon bartender and current Greymarkham Prison trustee, Blob, is at 73. Jumping up 2 spots to 72, it's bisexual wrestler with double-bladed swords, Shatterstar. And at 71, with 276 appearances, we have Revelation, formerly known as Cypher, who became the heir of Apocalypse and then had the worst makeover in existence. So at 70, we have Irma Cuckoo with 247 appearances, but she's probably more well known to some of you as Mindy Cuckoo. That was her name she picked out herself, which explains a lot. If you're looking for the definition of flop, you'll find a picture of Magma underneath, and here she is at number 69, dropping 3 places from last year. Next, we have Alpha Flight member Vindicator, who is currently in a coma after being disguised as another Alpha Flight member, Nemesis. Phoebe Cuckoo makes it in at 67 with 257 appearances, making her the highest ranking Stepford Cuckoo on this list. Empath, Shapeshifter and Magic Fairy, Megan, makes her way to 66. At 65, we have Black King of the Hellfire Club and late-stage capitalist Sebastian Shaw. Next, we have one half of the super-fast Bobier twins, Aurora. Jumping a massive 7 spaces to 63, it's Kid Omega, who is now a fully fledged member of the X-Men. With 270 appearances, the X-Men's first lesbian mutant telepath, Karma, is at 62. And at 61, she was the X-Men's secret spy in the Hellfire Club, turned X-Force leader, its walking, talking computer, Sage. So at 60, we have the Sonic Screaming, former Irish death goddess who is currently stuck in the Greymalkin prison as a trustee. It's Siren. Wolverine's son, Akihiro, who was recently murdered by Sabretooth but then resurrected by a Ghost Rider demon and is now going by Helverine, is at 59. The X-Men's most evil camp geneticist, Mr. Sinister, who we can't seem to get rid of, has fallen 3 places, down to 58. She came back to the side of the good guys in the end and earned herself her 11th life. It's Moira X at 57. After thriving in NYX, Anol, the not-so-little gay lizard boy, has climbed 4 spaces up to 56. With 297 appearances, at 55, it's Stronger, who never skips arm day. Next, we have part-time mutant mage, full-time rock manipulator Richter. My favourite Welsh mutant fairy, Pixie, is at 53. Kitty Pryde's best friend, who is secretly a spy for Sword, Lockheed, stays at 52. And at 51, he may or may not have died permanently, we still don't know. It's Rockslide with 310 appearances. So kicking off the top 50 with 311 appearances, in a rather fitting fashion, it's the mutant messiah herself, Hope Summers, who sacrificed herself to rebuild the Phoenix and save all of mutant kind. At 49, it's altogether perfect mutant, Monet St. Croix, who is both an X-Man and an Avenger and is currently spending all of her time in a prison cell at the moment. Free Monet! Big hairy Alpha Flight member Sasquatch, who has gone through several body transformations, is at 48. Warlock, who is currently third wheeling with his best self friend Doug, and his wife Bay, is at 47 with 339 appearances. Other Alpha Flight member Puck, who is short but mighty, is at 46. At 45, with 352 appearances, it's Multiple Man, who can do multiple things at once, but is currently deciding to be Dazzler's one-man roadie. Next, she's a self-proclaimed bimbo who makes things go boom. It's Boom Boom. Juggernaut is keeping his heroic streak alive as he's a member of the newest X-Men team, whilst also keeping himself steady on this ranking. Banshee, who is currently leading a new astonishing X-Men team, is at 42, falling 2 spaces, much like that time when he got hit by a plane and died. And at 41, with 375 appearances, it's speedster Northstar, who is probably most famous for being Marvel's first gay superhero and coming out by screaming, "I am gay," while punching someone in the face. What a way to come out. So at 40, we have a mutant who is so traumatized by Emma Frost blowing up her horse that she'd rather be an Avenger than an X-Man most of the time. It's Firestar with 385 appearances. Next, we have the mutant inventor Forge, who has probably had the biggest fumble in X-Men history when he proposed to Storm and she didn't say yes. At 38, he has super strength, super senses, and flight. It's Warpath. Mutant Queen of Disco, who is sometimes immortal, Dazzler, is at 37 with 418 appearances. Next, we have the highest new entry, jumping a massive 94 spaces from where I counted them last year. It's the mutant island of Krakoa. Now, last year I decided not to include every single appearance of Krakoa as listed on the Marvel Wiki, instead just going for the appearances where you could see Krakoa's face or Krakoa spoke. Now, since Krakoa is no longer with us, I thought the best way to honour their legacy is to just include every single appearance. So now Krakoa has 467 appearances, and that second Krakoan age can't come soon enough. Next, we have an honourable mention in the form of Miss Marvel with 469 appearances. Now, famously, Miss Marvel was an Inhuman until she was recently retconned to also be a mutant, as she has now been involved in a few of the X-Men storylines. Now, I wanted to wait and see whether Miss Marvel was going to stay in X-Men circles or shift back to being a solo Avengers character, but it looks like the X-Men is her future now. So going forward from next year, she will be included in this list. At 35, we have Wolfsbane, a wolf mutant who gives Daredevil a run for his money when it comes to religious trauma. She really should have been the X-Men's next leader. It's Danny Moonstar, who's jumped up 1 spot up to 34. Luck is always on her side. It's Domino, staying steady at 33. Next, with 501 appearances, it's Wolverine's sometime father, sometimes brother, full-time nemesis, Sabretooth, who really just can't stay dead. And at 31, with 518 appearances, it's the time-travelling, energy-absorbing Bishop, who, when he looks like this, deserves more. So at 30, with 528 appearances, we have the Mistress of Magnetism herself, Polaris, who just loves a green palette, and honestly, she pulls it off. World famous assassin who could qualify for both the world's worst mother and world's worst father, it's Mystique at 29. The less famous Braddock twin, ex-Captain Britain, Captain Avalon, is at 28. Next, we have a hot, rich, young millionaire who's been an X-Man, an Avenger, and the leader of AIM. It's Sunspot. It only took her 40 years to come out of the closet. It's the survivor of the Days of Future Past timeline, Rachel Summers, now known as Ascani, at 26. At 25, with 595 appearances, we have Mallrat turned X-Man turned vampire turned literal mother of dragons. It's Jubilee. At 24, it's arguably the better Wolverine, Laura Kinney. I mean, she's got foot claws. How cool is that? He just avoids being the flop of the Summers family because his brother is Vulcan. It's the complete mess, Havoc, at 23. With 656 appearances, it's New Mutant turned A-list X-Man Magic, who has a giant sword made out of her own soul. And at 21, with 752 appearances, he's as much a child of the 90s as he is the child of Scott Summers and Jean Grey. It's the time-travelling Cable. Kicking off the top 20, we have the X-Man Cannonball, who is nigh invulnerable while he's blasting. And he's blasting a lot. This Avenger might be well known for being the on and off again son of Magneto, but he has actually been a member of an X-Men team once or twice, which is more than his sister can say. This Cajun thief loves to destroy a deck of playing cards. It's Gambit with 819 appearances. Remember it. Forget Captain Carter, this is the real hero of Britain. It's Captain Britain at 17, who has a very messy history with Psylocke, but we can't get into that now. Though speaking of Psylocke, even though she was dead for 30 years, Psylocke has made significant gains recently, jumping a massive 22 spaces in the past year alone, up to 121 on the list. Now, I cannot see the future, but it does look like Canon might be able to break the top 100 for next year's list. At 16, it's the X-Men's greatest villain turned greatest ally. It's the Master of Magnetism himself, Magneto, who isn't really the Master of Magnetism anymore. At 15, with 1,026 appearances, he may not be a mutant, but he most certainly is an X-Men character. It's Deadpool. Next, it's my favourite flying brick who loves a bit of sugar. It's Rogue at 14. At 13, with 1,119 appearances, she shines bright like a diamond. It's the White Queen herself, Emma Frost. With 1,159 appearances, she goes through names just like she goes through walls. It's Shadowcat. Or is that Shadowcat with a K? Or Red Queen? Or Ariel? Or Sprite? I'll just stick with Kitty Pryde for now. And at 11, he really puts the sus in Colossus. It's Colossus with 1,214 appearances. Starting off the top 10 with 1,259 appearances, it's the fuzzy blue elf who once went to heaven and decided he'd rather be alive with the X-Men again. It's Nightcrawler. In a shocking turn of events, falling 2 spaces from last year down to number 9, it's the sometimes young hot billionaire, sometimes blue death machine. It's Angel with 1,314 appearances. The Cosmic Queen of the Universe, Jean Grey, who is, was, and will forever be the Phoenix, stays steady at 8 with 1,317 appearances. With 1,321 appearances climbing 2 spaces from last year, it's Professor Charles Xavier, who gave up everything to try and save Krakoa, and yet he still failed and ended up in prison. Next up, we have an honourable mention in the form of the Scarlet Witch with 1,355 appearances. Now, I don't consider Wanda to be an X-Men character, because she's never been involved in any X-Men books beyond her first appearance and being a mystical villain at times. But I know that not everyone feels that way, and some people think she should be considered an X-Men character and an Avengers character, like her brother, Quicksilver. So she's here just in case. He's the Omega level in both ice manipulation and in having the worst relationships ever. I mean, he once dated Mystique, for God's sake. It's Iceman with 1,431 appearances at 6. At 5, with 1,568 appearances, it's Namor, the King of Atlantis, who is often considered the first mutant, though that is categorically false. The former queen of the solar system, who is currently hosting the entirety of eternity itself within her, Storm, is at full with 1,933 appearances. In third place, he walked around way too close to the sun and got brought back as if it's 1985. It's Beast with 2,009 appearances. In second place, with 2,155 appearances, he's the X-Men's leader who can kill you with a look and sees everything in shades of red. It's Cyclops. And in first place for the second year in a row, surprising absolutely nobody because he can be found everywhere in the Marvel Universe, it's Wolverine with 3,444 appearances. And that's all of the top 100 X-Men characters with the most appearances, so let me know where your favourite ended up on the list. And if you can't find them in the list, let me know and maybe I'll do another video covering some of the less popular X-Men characters.